I'm going to start this episode of the Hey Tori podcast by telling on myself just a little bit. So I used to sell a course when it comes to digital marketing. I don't sell a course anymore. Now, I pivoted on purpose because I watched enough people buy a whole course. And when what they actually needed was one person telling them which single thing to do next. What I sell now is coaching. Even though I fought that word for a while, I call myself like a mentor for a bit, but really is coaching. And coaching is all about helping you figure out the next step, what to do, what action to take next. That is where my coaching really focuses. There is a resource library that comes with what I do now. It has worksheets, it has videos, it has a complete success path. But the library is not the library of resources. It's not the product. The coaching is the product because most of the women I work with, they don't have a knowledge problem. They know what an email list is. They usually already have one. They know what a lead magnet is. They may not know how to use it, but they know what it is. And then they have like a launch or an idea of what a launch is. But what they're not doing is taking action. And that is what today is about. So buying a class is one of the most, I don't know, sophisticated, most accepted ways there is to procrastinate or to avoid actually marketing your offers. It looks like progress. It feels like progress. But 6 months later, your email list hasn't grown and neither has your revenue. So I found that out with my own money, running my own business the wrong way for quite a while. So let's talk about it. So why we take the class instead of doing the marketing and what is actually going on underneath all of that. So, hey, welcome to the Hey Tori podcast, where I answer your digital marketing questions for creative entrepreneurs. I'm Tori McElwain, digital marketing coach, fellow quilter, and founder of the Digital Marketing Magic Coaching Program. If you're new here, this show works exactly like it sounds. You send me a question and I answer it on the podcast, like we're sitting in a Zoom room together, at least the best that I can without asking follow-up questions. So before we get into it, one thing about my background, because it actually matters for today. Before I did this work, I was in the tech industry. I have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, which means I have spent a good chunk of my adult life studying how people learn and, more importantly, how people convince themselves they're learning when they are not. And that second part is the entire episode. Okay, so here is the question that I'm answering, and I want to be upfront about this. This is not like one person. This is about it's like almost half the people that joined the program. And honestly, it was also me several years ago. I do love to learn and I do use it as a way to procrastinate. And once I identified that, I did better. So it goes like this, like, when somebody comes to me with this block of, I want to take another course instead of I want to actually take action. It's something like, Tori, I've taken 4 different classes on email marketing. I have a Pinterest course I never finished. I bought a workshop on Reels last spring. I watched 2 of the 8 videos that are in there. Last week, I signed up for another one. I'm really excited about this one, but I've been doing this for 5 years or 7 years. And my email list has 41 people on it, and I have not sent them anything in months. I keep thinking I just need to learn more before I start. What's wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong with you. Let me repeat those numbers because I think it shows and illustrates my point. So like 40 people, 4 classes, no emails for months. And here is why this episode is here. So I put a reel out which kind of summed this idea up, and I got responses. It was one that it was specifically on TikTok where I got a response. It was like, you are dropping truth bombs. And I'm like, okay, I think this needs to be a podcast episode because it is something that I see over and over again in my discussions in the digital marketing coaching program. So if you're like, no, this sounds like me. It's okay. It's totally normal. There's nothing wrong with you, but something is definitely happening. So let's name it. Here's what I see what's happening underneath that question of like what I'm doing wrong. We know we're procrastinating, or maybe we don't realize it until somebody points it out. Maybe when they talk to me about what's going on, it kind of illuminates the procrastination. But procrastination, a lot of times we think of it as like a time management problem, but it's typically not. Um, there's research behind this where procrastination is not a scheduling failure at all. It's an emotion regulation strategy. So when a task feels bad, if it feels overwhelming, if it feels too hard, we do not put it off because we're lazy or disorganized. We put it off because avoiding it makes us feel better right then. So it's called like short-term mood repair. And I'll put some of the research I did for this episode in the show notes so you can see more about this. But if you sit with that for a second, it kind of reframes everything. So putting it off, it kind of works. That is why we keep doing it. It is not irrational. It's extremely effective as a thing that it's actually doing, which is making a bad feeling go away. It helps you feel safer. So the real question is not like around undisciplined or time management. The real question is, what is that bad feeling? And for us, for quilters, pattern designers, for teachers, for makers, I think I know exactly what it is. Marketing requires you to say out loud in public, I made this and I think it's worth your money. That's the whole thing. Every marketing task you're avoiding is some version of that sentence. Posting the pattern, sending the email, announcing the workshop, putting a price on something that you've created. Every one of those is you standing up and claiming your work has value, where people who know you can see you do it. And it feels scary. Sometimes it feels overwhelming. A lot of this has to do with your brain trying to protect you. And even in some ways, in the crafting world, sometimes it can even feel like you're standing up and other people might see it like you're bragging. We come out of this craft built on generosity, and we tend to like give quilts away and donate things to guilds and local charities. We teach our friends for free because that's just kind of what we were, I want to say trained to do, but that's what we're encouraged to do. And then you go and start charging $10 for a pattern and something in your chest says, who do you think you are? Now hold that up to taking a class. So instead of putting yourself out there, you go and take a class. A class, it does cost money. It takes time. It requires a lot of effort. So it doesn't feel like avoidance, but look at what it's actually asking of you emotionally. Almost nothing. You get to be the student. You get to be humble. You get to be safe. You get to learn some interesting things, which lights your brain up, especially if you love to learn. You get to be somebody who's working on themselves, working on your business, and nobody's going to like side eye you for that. Nobody's going to call you out on that. And there's no version of taking a class where you have to say your work is worth paying for. That is what makes it a good hiding place where it feels productive, but it's more like procrastination. And it's the only kind of work that gives you the feeling of moving forward without zero exposure. You don't have to market if you're busy taking a class. And then there's a second thing going on. And this one square is squarely in what I do for you. So researchers who study how people actually learn, they have a name for this. It's called fluency illusion. So when information goes down easy, your brain reads that smoothness as evidence that you have mastered it. But smoothness is just smoothness. It's not real learning. And again, I'll put a little bit of some of the research that I've done into the show notes so you can see more about this. But the study methods that feel best for us, like the rereading, rewatching, highlighting even, if you print things out, are consistently the weakest way to learn. The methods that actually build durable skill feel harder and make you feel worse while you're doing them. It's part of growing. It's just like working out. When you're working out to get stronger, things start to hurt. Not hurt, but they start to feel tired. They start to feel fatigued. They start to feel sore, but it's you getting stronger. And it's the same for your brain while you're learning. So let's put those next to each other. So watching a marketing class goes down smooth. It feels productive. There's no exposure. There's no risk of failing in public. Right. And it feels safer because it's predictable. You know what's going to happen. You know the expectations versus writing your own, let's say, email, writing an email to go out to your list. It feels rough. It feels hard. It feels fully exposed and it may not do well. It might flop. But one of those two things is going to grow your business, and your nervous system is going to fight you on which one to pick every single time. I've been doing this for 7 years and I still get nervous to send out emails. It doesn't really fully go away. So here's a test for you. So one question I want you to actually answer and not just hear this and move on with your day. What did you actually try? Put into action, put out into the world from the last class that you took. Not what did you learn, not was it a good class, but what went out? What did a customer actually see? What email got sent? What pattern got launched? What workshop did you get to host? If the answer is nothing, then the next class is not the thing that's standing between you and a successful launch or a successful business. And I'm saying this as somebody who sold a class, who has been teaching like my entire life, and looked really hard at what is actually going to help people move forward and why I shifted to coaching. Okay, so what do we do about it? So one other thing that may be stopping you is going to be decision fatigue. So sometimes it's easier to make a decision to take a class to learn at least one thing that you can get out of this class than it is to actually choose what's going to be best for your business, depending on the stage that your business is in. And that's where you can reach out for a little bit of help, or you can do some self-examining and see where you're standing. Okay, so inside the DMMC, the whole program is built on a success path. It has 5 stages. We have foundation, experiment, consistency, focus, and tweak. And what I want to talk about is stage 2, because I named it experiment on purpose. And this is all why. So stage 1 is your foundations, right? This is the learning stage. This is where you do need to learn a little bit, right? To get your marketing out there. But most people that listen to me at this point from this podcast, you guys have been sharing that you've been in business for like 2 to 5 years. So you have a lot of these foundations in place already. It's learning who your ideal customer is, what your content themes really are, and what you want to sell. This is the part that everybody loves. That part feels really good. It feels like you're really building something. And you're putting the building blocks in place, that strong foundation. But stage 2 is where you take all of that out into the wild of the internet, because we're doing digital marketing, and you find out what actually works. And the very first thing in stage 2 is a 3-week challenge where you commit to posting 3 times a week on whatever social media platform you've chosen to show up fully on. Just one platform for 3 weeks. And the instruction isn't just go do it. The instruction is pick your start date, post the date publicly in our community, and we're going to cheer you on. I want you to notice what that's doing, because it's not teaching you anything. I'm not sitting here teaching you how to post on social media. There are some resources in there that kind of show you about reels and some best practices about carousels and things like that. But I'm not saying this is what you should be doing. I'm saying go do it. There's no new information. It's pick a date, tell somebody the date, and go do the thing. I do want to say that taking classes again is not a fully bad thing. There are things that we do need to learn. There are things that we need to understand in order to put them into action. However, you can learn by doing. And the problem is not really the classes in and of themselves. The problem is going into a class and learning with nothing attached to it. Class with a date that you're going to implement what you're learning is more like training. A class with no date is you can use it as entertainment. You can use it as procrastination. You can use it to just put off all the bad feelings because it feels good to learn and take another class. It feels good. It can be expensive though. And it's very sophisticated way for you to entertain yourself and to procrastinate. And I say this with a lot of love and zero judgment because, like I said, I've done this before too. And once I've noticed it and started calling myself out on it, I was able to identify what is going on underneath this want of taking yet another class. And this shows up a lot in my coaching. So my coaching is around 3 strategies. One is lead strategy, bringing people in, nurture strategy, and launch strategy, which is actually selling. And most people do the lead strategy and they're very excited and open and willing to go through that part and to really implement those different things. But people don't usually get into the launch strategy because a launch has a date on it and it creates urgency whether they want it to or not. And it's one of the walls that I tend to hit with my coaching clients is when are you launching? When is the date? So here's what I would do if this were my business or if we were on a coaching call together and you were going back and forth on taking another class. So one, I would already look at what you've already done. So we're going to do this in I think it's 5 steps. So 5 steps, we're going to look at this. So first, take an inventory of what you've already taken. What classes have you already taken? What were the subjects in them? And then in a second column or a third one, I guess. So the first would be class names. Second, what did they teach? So having just a topic is helpful. And then what you actually put into action from those classes in a third column. And then I want you to look at that page. Is that step number 2? How did I write that? Okay. That's still step number 1. Step number 1. You've written it all down. And I would actually use paper for this, honestly. That way you're not lost in a rabbit hole and we can get this really going here because the point is to take action, not to give you another thing to do to avoid actually marketing. So if you're really looking for another class on marketing, then let's look at what you've already taken and include summits, include webinars. What have you put into action from these different pieces? Look at the page. If that third column is blank, that is a more useful answer for you than anything that I can hand you. Because what you're going to do for number 2 is to go back to what you've already taken. Go back to the ones that were most exciting for you. At this point, I would just pick one and then take action on what they are teaching you within that class. So, for example, if you are looking at, I am really bad at sending emails to my audience. This is one I hear a lot. I'm really bad at sending an email consistently to my audience. So I signed up for this class and I signed up for that class and I'm still not doing it. So I think I need another class on email marketing. Okay. So if that's what I'm thinking, I'm going to do what Tori is saying. I'm going to go to number 1. I'm going to write down what classes I've already taken. I've already taken these classes. Well, I already have 2 email classes that I have access to. So I'm going to go in there. I'm going to pick this one because I really liked her energy and I really liked the way that her emails sound. So I'm going to go to this instructor's class. And then I'm going to have you take the class either again or review it. Depends on how far you get. Because sometimes we could take these classes. We watch 2 videos and we're done. So go in there, either learn what you need to learn, but then take action on what you need to learn. Now, after you've taken those actions, after you started sending your next email, then we're going to look at number 5, which is, do you actually need another class on email marketing? Do you? You just sent out 1 email. So what is going to be the next thing? It's going to be sending out a different email. We're going to set up a routine, right? And then move you forward. So that's actually a good example of using it to procrastinate. I just need another class to figure out how to send emails consistently. Okay, so let me go over that because I kind of blurred the numbers together, or my own little step-by-step framework I've got here. So number one, we're going to list everything, topic, and then what you took action on. Number two, pick one class that's going to answer the struggle that you're facing right now. Go in. And then three, give yourself a date when you're actually going to do the thing it's teaching. So if it's email marketing, at the end of this week, you're going to send out an email that has a date. Then tell someone. So that's number three. Pick a date and tell someone. Tell someone for accountability. You can email me if you need to. My email is hey@heytori.tech. TECH. Tech. Because .com was already taken. Okay, so .tech. You can send me an email and say, I'm going to send an email on Friday. So, okay, you've got a date, you've got an action, you've got the information. Let's make it happen. And then number four is when you're actually doing the action. Now, I would suggest for number four, the action, you're picking something simple, something kind of small. We're not looking at, if you're looking at email sending, we're not batching 5 emails at once. We're looking at one email. So keep it simple, keep it small, assign a date that's relatively close, reasonable, and actionable. Tell someone. And then number 5 is going to be reevaluating, do you actually need another class? Because sometimes you will do. There may be something that you're missing, something that you're not understanding, and you need to go in and actually learn something. And I'm not telling you to stop learning. Let's be clear here. I'm not telling you to stop learning. I'm telling you to take action before you try to learn more if you already have the knowledge. It's time for action. Okay. But that's the order. First, take some action. Then we're going to learn. I say this a lot when it comes to learning, but one of the best ways that we can learn is to make mistakes, is to go out there and learn the hard way. So if you have the knowledge to get you there 50% of the way, the other 50% is on you and the actions that you're taking. Okay, so this is a little rule that I've come up with, is to not buy another class until I can name what I've taken action on in the last one. So you can adopt that if that helps you. Feel free to use that one, but don't buy another class until you've used what you learned in the last one. When we take action, that's when we're really learning. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is a little bit about how the DMMC can help you with this. So I'm going to pull back the curtain just a little bit because there's a tool inside the DMMC that I built exactly for this moment that I'm describing. My DMMC members, they have access to a suite of custom AI tools. They're chatbots that I built specifically with my own frameworks. So they're not just like generic ones. And then one I want to talk about today is CELA, it stands for CELA, which is CELA, the Creative's Email Launch Assistant. And now I want to be honest about what CELA does. She gives you a starting point. So one thing, as I mentioned before, my clients tend to do the lead strategy, go through it real fast, and then they'll stop at launch because they actually have to do a launch and sell something, put themselves out there. And Sela helps you take the next step when you hit that wall. She helps you write the emails for an email launch. Now, every launch that you do is going to accompany some kind of email marketing. So Sela gives you that starting point. Now, she has in her back end a 10-day framework, and she gives you the framework and she helps you write out some basic messaging to get you started on those emails. And then you write them, you fill in your own voice, you fill in the actual customer testimonials, you fill in questions that people have asked you about your patterns, about your class, about your services. And she gives you that starting point so it doesn't feel so overwhelming to take that next step. So I want to tell you about somebody who's in the exact same spot as I'm describing here. She was taking class after class after class. And when she came to me, she said that she wanted to shift her business from being a service provider to being a teacher. So she initially took my Workshops Unleashed book club. And again, that one is focused on action, moving you forward to create your class and get the marketing out there. And she said she did more towards actually getting her class out there than she has in any other program that she has taken. And she had listed to me about 3 of them. And I don't want to put them out there because I don't want to badmouth anybody else's course because there's value in learning, as I shared throughout the episode. It's just when we use it to procrastinate, that's when it's bad, or we use it to stop making a decision. That's when it gets in the way of creating a successful business. But she found a community where she is encouraged to take the actions that she needed to get her class out there. And then she joined the DMMC shortly after the Workshops Unleashed book club. And she's been in ever since. And her growth has been exponential as she is closing down her service business and starting to open up her teaching and her classes. And it's been really, really exciting to watch her grow. So here is your takeaway for the week. But I have to say one thing about this episode first. This episode kind of was a class, right? You just spent 25 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer. I think I talked a little bit longer, listening to somebody, me, explain marketing to you. And if you close this app feeling really motivated and then you don't do anything, I just sold you the exact thing I spent the whole episode warning you about. I would rather that not happen. So here it is. In the next 24 hours or so, if you're thinking about taking a class, do that 5-step framework. If you are someone who is thinking about taking an email marketing class because you're not sending your emails, open up your email marketing platform and send an email using what you already learned about email marketing. No matter how many people are on that email list, whether it's 41, 12, or 6,000, send them an email based off of what you've already learned. Let them know that you're there. Spend 15 minutes on it and send it and see what happens. And then tomorrow, if you want to still buy the class you're thinking about, you'll really see if the value is there for you to actually put your money towards it. So you make the decision based off of the actions you've taken, not what you haven't learned in the past. All right. So if you have questions or want me to answer one on the show, there's a link in the show notes so you can send it in. Real questions from real people are the entire point of this podcast. I read every single one. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please leave a review, especially if you're on Apple Podcast or Spotify. It helps other people find the podcast as well. Or if you know one person who you know likes to procrastinate by using classes, so go ahead and send this episode to them and help them evaluate whether that next class is really needed or if it's a decision they're not making. And if you've been considering the Digital Marketing Magic coaching program, keep in mind how it is structured. Here is the objection that I would have if I were you and listening to this episode. I just spent, 30-ish minutes telling you that buying more content, more lessons is hiding. And my program comes with a resource library. It has videos, it has worksheets, it has a full success path. So what exactly is going to stop you from doing the same thing in my DMMC program with all those library resources than those courses that you've taken in the past? And I think that's a fair question. So I want to answer it straight up. Nothing really stops you. If you join the DMMC and you treat it like a course, it will be just another course. What's different is not the material that's in it so much. There's a lot that goes into it that is very specific to like quilting examples, crafting examples. What's different is the first thing that happens is our kickoff call meeting with me, where the entire point of the kickoff call is to figure out what place you should start and ignore the rest. There are also monthly calls where I ask you what you did. That's part of the accountability. That's part of what I provide as a group coaching experience. But we also have our one-on-ones where we can go deeper. I'll be somebody who tells you where you can start, where I think you should start, how to take that action, and I will notice whether you do or you don't. That is what I pivoted toward. That is why I would rather be a coach than just a course provider for you. So I would love for you to join, but if you want to do one thing first, I would send the email, do the action that you've been avoiding and see what happens. If you send it tonight and next week, you'll find yourself thinking, okay, I want a real system around this and I want people who will hold me to it, then come find me. That is exactly what the DMMC is for, and I would be thrilled to have you in it. But if you're still avoiding the actions, my program may not be the right fit for you. Not because I don't want you to join, but because you would be doing the exact same thing we just spent 20, 30 minutes talking about, and I would be the one helping you do that. I don't want you to procrastinate. Now go take action, and I will see you next week.